Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Hope you've all had a wonderful day. It is now December, so we are on to my November reading wrap up. So if you guys watched my readathon video, you'll know I took part in the Believeathon 3 hosted by How to Train Your Gavin, and I can proudly say I completed my Believeathon journey. I did take a little bit longer and read a couple of days into December, but I'm still counting it because I was super busy a couple of days and just had no time for reading, so I'm counting that as a completed task. Let me just find my reading journal. So I read a fair few books actually this month for me, and I'm pretty proud of myself. How many did we read? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12, yeah, I read 12 books this month, which is pretty good for me because I went through a proper slump and I think I only read like 3 last month, which is pretty bad. I'm just trying to find, oh yeah, here it is. So Believeathon 3 was the mystery of the missing Maleficarum. So there were a couple of double up books that I read, and the first one was Enid Blyton 5 Go to Smuggler's Top. I gave it 3 stars. I really enjoy the famous 5 stories. I grew up listening to them and watching them, so they are a firm favourite. They're not a book I would probably read all the time, and that's why it's not a higher star rating, but they are really lovely and a really nice sort of family fun adventure. Next up was Jasmine Waga's Other Words from Home. Now I actually read this one pretty quickly. A lot of these I read via audiobook on Scribd, and I only gave it 3 stars because I felt like I wanted more information from the characters. It follows a mother and daughter who move away from their home country because it's not safe to live there anymore, and they move to, I believe it's London, or it could be New York. I read it right at the beginning, so my brain is mush. And I felt like it kind of talked about the differences between the countries, her kind of getting used to being in a new place. And I just felt like I needed a little bit more from the story and the characters, so that's why I only got a 3. But I did really enjoy it, I just wanted that little bit more. Again, I listened to 5 Go to Smuggler's Top, so that counted as another prompt. And then I listened to Michelle Harrison's One Wish. So this is the prequel to the trilogy of the 13 Secrets, or 13 Treasures, that Michelle Harrison wrote, and I read that a very long time ago and really enjoyed it, and I didn't actually realise that there was a prequel, so when I got the chance to find this in a charity shop, I picked it up not really thinking anything of it, and then I realised it was a prequel, and it was really lovely to kind of re-immerse myself in that world. It follows a girl called Tanya who can see Fae, and it's kind of how she lives with that and the little adventures she goes on, and I really enjoyed it, and definitely a reread at some point, I think. So there's that. Next up was C.S. Lewis's The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. I love the Narnia stories, I love the world, I think it's fabulous, and it was really nice to kind of read the book as opposed to just watching the films, which I absolutely adore. And I gave it 3 stars. I gave this one 4, I believe. I'll double check in a minute. I only gave Narnia 3 stars purely because it was just quite short and I wanted more from it, and I think because I've seen the film first and I love the film, it has kind of built up my expectations a little bit, but I did really enjoy it. I love Simon, Peter, Edmund, Lucy and Susan. I don't know where I got Simon from. I think I was thinking Susan and got Simon, but it is a really lovely story, and I have this in a really lovely hardback edition. So there's that. Next up, I read Emilia, Fang and the Barbaric Bull by Laura Ellen Anderson, and while I did enjoy it, and it follows Emilia whose mother is, they're vampires, and her mother throws a barbaric ball every year, and there is a king and the prince is a bit nasty, and various sort of things go on. It was very young for me, I found. So I only gave it 3 stars because I just felt it was really young for me. It was lovely and it was a really nice little story, and I imagine a younger me would have absolutely loved it, but at this point I just felt it was a little bit too young for me. So there's that. The next one I listened to was Catherine Rundell's The Explorer, which follows a group of children whose plane crash lands in the Amazon, and they meet the explorer who kind of helps them survive and helps them get out of where they are. And I really liked it. I think, let me just see what I gave it. I think I gave it 3. No, I gave it 4 stars. And I think the reason behind that was just because it was a really funny story. It kind of made light of a bad situation by making sort of funny little antics and things like that. And the voices that the person doing the audiobook made were fabulous. So I really recommend listening to the audio version if you can. But yeah, I gave that 4 stars. Yeah, Michelle Harrison's One Wish, I gave 4 stars as well. So there's that. Oh, I actually gave The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe 4 stars. I thought I'd only given it 3. Interesting. But there you are. Then next up, if I can find my page again, we had... so there were a few more rereads on here of the same book, like doubling up on prompts. But I read J.K. Rowling's Tales of Bead with a Bard, which is a little collection of wizarding fairy tale stories put together. I really enjoyed it. There were a couple of stories in there that I was a little bit like, this is okay. But I absolutely loved the story of the 3 brothers. And for that reason I did give it 4 stars. But I do like it as a little addition to the story. And just really, it kind of really reimagines that world for me, that it is a world and it has its own little fairy tales and ghost stories and things like that. So I really, really enjoyed it for that reason. Then the last one for the Believathon was Into the Spotlight by Carrie Hope Fletcher. Now this one follows a group of children who live in a theatre, and they live with their great aunt and stepmom of sorts, I suppose, and the theatre is running out of money, so the children create an idea of how to bring more money in, and I loved it. I gave it 4 stars. I think I would have given it 5 stars had I read the book it's kind of not based on, but like kind of reimagined-ish, is Ballet Shoes by Noel Streatfeild. And I feel like if I'd read that, I would have got some more of the kind of references to it from that, and that would have given it a 5-star for me. But I really, really loved it. I love Carrie's writing, and my aim is to own all of her books, and she has a new one coming out next August, which, depending on how my no buy is going, by that time we may look into purchasing it. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars, and definitely one that I will be rereading at some point. So yes, I read those. I then listened to a couple of audiobooks on Scribd as I wanted to kind of start my Christmas reading. So I listened to the full cast production of A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. That was okay. I enjoyed the full cast production of it. I didn't like the voice of the narrator. I found her voice really quite grating, so that's the reason it got a 3-star for me. It probably would have been a 4 or a 5 had her voice not irritated me so much. But yeah, it just wasn't a voice I could quite get along with while I was listening to it. It just wasn't one for me. So yeah, I gave it 3 stars. I then listened to The Night Before Christmas by Clement C. Moore. It was only 15 minutes long. It's a children's story, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was cute. I did only give it 3 stars because it is a children's story and it wasn't very long. But I liked it and I thought it was really nice, and if you're a child, I think it would really sort of be nice to help you get in the Christmas kind of mood. Then I listened to Letters from Father Christmas by J.R.R. Tolkien, and that is basically a group of letters that he wrote to his children as Santa Claus over the years, and I thought that was really lovely to kind of have them all compiled into one book. I gave it 3 stars, and yeah, I thought it was really nice, and I think if you write letters, if your children write letters to Santa and you don't send them by post, you kind of keep them and you respond. I think that's a really lovely kind of reminder when they're older of times gone by. So I really, really liked that. And then the last one I read was Wish Upon a Star by Trisha Ashley. This one is a chick lit. It was the first one I physically read throughout this month. And yeah, it follows single mum Callie, whose daughter Stella has a rare heart condition, and they're saving up money in order to send her off to America to have a very important operation. And so in order to raise that money, she sells her flat and moves back in with her mum. And she meets a baker called Jago, and it's kind of how they kind of like each other but don't know that each other likes the other one, and how they save the money for Stella and do various things to raise the money. And while I really liked it, I gave it 4 stars. If it would have been a 5 had the romance ensued a little bit quicker. There was no steaminess in it. It was a very like basic romance. There were moments where they weren't sure if, you know, they liked each other, but they held hands and things like that, and it was really lovely, and I enjoyed the way it came about, because Callie obviously didn't want to get into too much having to worry about Stella, and Jago respected that and didn't want to push too much on her, so they kind of remained as friends, and kind of it all came together at the end, which was lovely, but I wanted a little bit more romance from them. I thought they were a lovely pairing and I enjoyed the story. I just wanted a little bit more lovey-dovey. So yeah, it was only a 4 star. It's not one I'll be keeping on my shelf though, just because it's not one I think I would read again knowing the story and not having enough loviness for me, but it was really good, and I do recommend Trisha Ashley's writing. I thought it was done very well. She does have a few other Christmas ones which I don't own. I have quite a selection of Christmas ones to read if you have seen my TBR, but yeah, this one was a good one. It just won't be staying in my collection. But yeah, that's it. They are my 12 books for November. I'm hoping to get through all of my TBR for December, but we shall see. But that's everything from me. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more fun things to come. And yeah, that's everything from me. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next one.